Welcome back to another exciting After Effects tutorial. In this video, we'll be doing visual effects and motion graphics for commercials and sports. This tutorial was actually suggested by you, the community, and to be transparent, I didn't know how to do this, so I had to experiment, play around, and figure it out, and I'm here to show you what I've learned. We're taking a technique from the Gatorade commercial, and we're going to apply that with my own little flavor to an old shot that I have of Manny Pacquiao. This After Effects tutorial could easily be over an hour long, so what I decided to do is show you the technique, and then from there, amigos, it's your turn to use that knowledge and apply it to your own videos. If you enjoyed this After Effects tutorial, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on that bell notification to stay up to date. I'm trying to create more After Effects tutorials and product and plugin reviews for you, but I can only do that with your help and support. And remember that life is truly a gift, so make it count. This technique involves a lot of tracking, so choose your weapon, Mocha or After Effects own motion tracker. I ended up using After Effects motion tracker, so let's go ahead and use that method for this tutorial. Let's select the footage, click and drag to the composition icon to make a comp with the same resolution and frame rate as your footage. Let's make 3 null objects, layer new null object. And the idea is we want to track his shoulder, his elbow, and his wrist. So for this one, let's call it right shoulder. This one we'll call it right elbow. And this one, let's call it right wrist. Select your layer, double click to open in the layer window. And you can see layer and then the name of the file. And make sure that you have the tracker window open. If you don't see this, just go to window, make sure that tracker is selected. Okay, click on the button that says track motion, and we're only interested in position, so forget about these other two, rotation and scale. Let's zoom in. Control plus is to zoom in, and let's go right here to the corner. And this tracker in After Effects works with points, pixels. So anything that is a corner that has a distinct difference in pixel colors will work best. To analyze, we'll use the analyze control. We'll either use the analyze forward, which will go forward automatically, or we can go frame by frame. Sometimes we'll use a combination of both. So make sure that the current time indicator is at the beginning or at a frame that is the best frame to start tracking. In this case, let's just start at the very beginning and let's analyze forward. So it did a good job. It seems like it's stuck throughout. Perfect. And let's go to edit target. Let's choose the right shoulder, hit OK, go to apply, and let's apply the X and Y data. Hit OK. And let's go back to the layer window. Let's reset, and let's move this all the way to the elbow. And you can see that there is a little dent right there. There are some pixels that we can use that is different color than the surrounding area. And let's use that and let's see if it'll help us and we can track that area. So let's go ahead, and once again, I'm tracking at the very beginning, and let's track forward. And that actually looks really good as well. So go to edit target. Let's choose the right elbow, hit OK, and apply the X and the Y data. Let's go back once again to the layer window. Let's reset this, and this time let's use the wrist. Let's go here, and again I'm starting from the very beginning, and let's analyze forward. Okay, I think I saw some frames that it slipped, so let's go frame by frame and let's modify these. So right here you see that it slipped. All we need to do is move it back. Let's go to the next frame. Let's move this. Let's fix this. And let's analyze frame by frame. Let's move this. There may be times where you need to do it manually or just fix it manually like we're doing right now. But this is a good example to show you that you can fix it by hand. Okay, from this point forward, let's try to see if it can do it automatically. And let's check it out. So we see we need to fix right here, fix it a little bit. This flash confuses the tracker a little bit, so let's fix it. Okay, so this looks good. We were able to fix it and go to edit target, choose the wrist, right wrist, hit OK, and let's apply the X and Y data. Let's go back to the composition and hit Control-Shift-H. Control-Shift-H will be your friend in this tutorial because it hides all the controls. So let's check it out. Let's go slow, and you can see that the null objects are sticking to our point. This one right here for the elbow, we can tweak it. If you need to tweak it, amigos, you can easily go in and hit P for position, because remember, we only track the position, and this one, I believe it just jumps. So what I'm going to do is this keyframe, I'm going to copy it, go to the next frame, and just paste it in, and then paste the last one in. And I think this will work better. Yes. Okay. Now make sure that you deselect all the layers, so there are no layers selected. Let's go to the pen tool and we'll create a simple shape layer. So just make a point, click and click just to draw a line. That's all you need to do. Make sure that the fill is set to none. Make sure that the stroke is set to either 1 or 2 pixels. And we can choose this color. Hit OK. What we'll do now is write an expression to link this line from the shoulder to the elbow to the wrist. So wherever these null objects move, it will automatically update and draw that line. With the help of a little expression, we'll be able to accomplish this in no time. Okay, for the shape layer, let's call it right arm line. And let's drill down, and I'm going to make this a lot bigger for now. So don't worry about this. We'll make it smaller if you want to see it. Let's drill down to contents, to shape, to path. And for the null objects, select them and hit P for position. Okay, let's write an expression. I'll click on the stopwatch for the path, and it opens up the expression box. Let's make this box bigger. Let's leave this line for now. Hit enter so we can type in some other lines. Okay, we'll create 3 variables, and a variable is simply a container that holds a value. So think of a container that in real life, a container can hold water, Gatorade, Pepsi, or orange juice. So it's the same thing with a variable. Variable is simply a container that holds a number, it holds a value. So let's create one that will be for the position of the shoulder, for the position of the elbow, and the last one will be for the position of the wrist. So let's call it shoulder. You can name it whatever you want. Shoulder is equal to, and then here we're going to use After Effects to help us out. Instead of writing the code, we can simply use a pick whip, click and drag to the position right here, and After Effects will automatically write the code for us. Okay, let's add a semicolon to the end. Let's go to the next line, and let's type in elbow. This is a variable that we're creating. It's called elbow. Elbow is equal to, using the pick whip, click and drag to the position of the null object of the right elbow. And once again, After Effects generates the code for us. Add a semicolon to the end because we will write another line of code. And this last one, wrist, is equal to, and again, using the pick whip, click and drag to the position of the null object of the right wrist. Put semicolon. And what we'll do now is we need to subtract half of the X value of our comp and half of the Y value of our comp. So let me bring up the calculator, And 1280, because this composition is 1280. 1280 divided by 2 is 640. Okay, so we need to subtract 640 from whatever the position is on the X value. And on the Y value, 720 divided by 2 is 360. So we have 640 and 360. Now, if you're working in HD, it would be half of 1920 for the X value, which is 960. And for the Y value, it would be half of 1080. Okay, so let's add that code to each of these three variables. So let's subtract minus, and then we'll put in bracket 640, comma, 360, bracket. So whatever the position is of the null object, it'll subtract half of the X and half of the Y. So let's copy this, Control C, and let's go here. Let's just paste it in. Let's make sure that we only have one semicolon. Let's delete this semicolon right here. Let's paste it in. Okay, let's click outside. Good, there's no errors so far. So this looks good. Now comes the fun part. And what we'll do is this. Let's click here, make sure that the cursor is right here. Let's go to this button, the expression language menu. Let's click on it. And these are all the functions that are in After Effects scripting. So let's go to the path property and we'll use this expression, create path. Okay, let's click outside and let's delete this. And After Effects created this box automatically. So let's make the stroke for now 4 so we can see it. Actually, we need to select the shape layer. Let's make it 4 so you can see it. So it's going from 0, 0 right here, 100, 0. This is this value, 100, 100, which is that corner right there, and 0, 100, which is that corner. So it's creating that shape. Now, instead of using these values, what we'll do is we'll substitute these with the position of our shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. And since we have this variable created, we're all set up to go. So instead of this one, let's go to shoulder, which is the same name as our variable. Instead of this one being 100, 0, let's make it elbow. And this one, instead of this value, let's type in wrist. So this is simply pointing to whatever shoulder is, which is this code. This one, elbow, is whatever this code is. And this wrist is whatever this code is. Okay, the last one, we don't need the last one, so we can go ahead and delete it. Make sure that you delete this little comma at the end right here because we deleted the last value. And click outside the box. And there you go. Hit Control-Shift-H to hide the null objects. And if we play this back, we have this shape. It created this shape. So wherever the null object moves, this shape will move with it, which is pretty cool. Now, it's a closed shape. If you want to make it an open shape, just go down here, and where it says closed is equal to true, it's saying closed shape is true. So if you want to make it open shape, just put in false, and we get this. And we can go ahead, make this line thinner, maybe 1 pixel. And we can add a glow, go to Effect, Stylize Glow. Make it 0, 30, and 2. For the glow colors, make it A and B, and let's give it a green color. And we can switch the blending mode to add. And that is how you create those lines. Now, amigos, it's the same concept for the other arm, for the chest, and for the legs. It's your challenge as a student to apply all that knowledge to do the other lines. Because if not, this tutorial would be like an hour-long tutorial. Before we move on to the second part, where we're adding these numbers, let's have some fun with this line. What you can do is you can click on the shape layer. You can add a trim path, for example, trim path right here. And you can simply animate this line. For example, let's go all the way to the beginning. And let's make this down to 0. And then put a keyframe here. Go forward. And then this one here. So it'll just draw on like this. let's create this continuously generating random number. So go to the text tool and type in 50 for now. And go to Effect, Expression Control, Slider Control, and go to the stopwatch. I'll click to open the expression box, and let's type in a very simple expression called wiggle. And put parentheses, and wiggle takes two values. The first one is how many times you want to fluctuate per second, and the second value is the amount that you want to fluctuate or wiggle. So let's do 6 times per second, and let's say we want to fluctuate an amount of maximum of 40, and put a parentheses and click outside the box. And what we'll do now is go to the text, drill down, go to the source text, I'll click to open the expression box. And what we'll do is, using the pick whip, click and link it to the slider control. Now our text will have whatever value is in the slider control. So you can see minus 7.54, minus 7.5423, and so on. So right here is minus 15.08. Right here is minus 15.079, and it keeps going. Let's add a couple more expressions. One is to round it, and the second, let's take out the negative. Okay, let's make this expression box bigger. And let's make a variable. Remember, variable is simply a container that holds a value. So let's call it our number, and all variables are case sensitive. So our number is equal to this line that we already have. Put semicolon. Nothing changed. Now let's go to the next line, and let's go to this button, the expression language menu, and let's go to JavaScript math, and let's use this math.round value. Now math.round will round this number, but we have to give it a value. Now the value is our variable, so let's just copy our variable, Control C, and then Control V to paste, and let's click out, and you can see that it rounded the number. Let's get rid of the negative, and if you remember anything from high school math, you always return a positive number when you're working with absolute. So once again, put a semicolon, and let's add another function, and that is math.abs for absolute. And again, it requires a value. So let's take this, let's delete this semicolon, let's take this, copy it, and let's paste it in. And delete this line. We don't need this anymore because it's inside. And let's check it out. There you go. It always returns the positive number. Now let's add something else. Put a space, put the plus sign. So we want to add a percentage sign. So put quotes, percentage sign, quotes. And let's click out, and we added this percentage sign. So there you go. We have this number that generates automatically. It's going crazy. And what we can do is Control Shift H to reveal all the controls. Let's move it here. We can make it smaller. This is a good size. And then we can parent this to the right shoulder. Let's make another copy. Let's move it down here. Let's parent this one to the elbow. Let's make another copy. Control D for delta. And let's parent that one to the wrist. Control Shift H to hide the controls. And let's check it out. Let me go ahead and show you how to create this V-shaped line just coming down an array of V-shapes moving downwards. Okay, let's go to this copy, and this is the layer. And this is using the same method that I explained to you, using the null objects and the function, the expression create path. Okay, this is a shape layer, so let's add a repeater. And automatically when you add the repeater, it creates 3 copies for you, and as well you have transform properties for the repeater, and by default it places them 100 pixels in the x-axis. So what we need to do is put them all the way on top of each other, so go to 0. And what I'm going to do is, let's make 7 copies. Let's add a keyframe, and let's add a keyframe for the position. And let's move forward to maybe right here, 4512. let's give it 0 copies, but let's move it down in the y-axis. So this is actually a little too much. Actually, let's move this over so we can see this. Maybe something like this, maybe 25. Let's move this keyframe back and let's check it out. So that's not enough, so we can make it maybe 45, and let's see. There you go. So that looks good. You can experiment with the number of copies, you can experiment with the position, and you can experiment also how fast or how slow you want this to happen. If you want to make it faster, just move the keyframes closer to each other. So that is how you create that animation.